guys, this is Jen from F.a.s.t.life.com, and this is video number 1 of my 3-part decluttering video series. So if you watch the intro, you probably already know why I wanted to do this series, but basically I just wanted to give you guys sort of a running start into 2017. I know that when the new year hits, a lot of us have these great intentions. We make resolutions. We think, oh, I'm going to do all this stuff differently. And then, by January 15th, it's all sort of out the window. So I really want to get you guys motivated early. I want to give you a head start, really make you feel like I can do this and actually realize that you can do this. I want you to know that whether you're trying to just declutter a little bit or you're trying to do a major downsizing, maybe into a tiny house like I did, it is doable. So I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I want you to be excited. I want you to be motivated. And again, I know everybody's busy right now at this time of year with Christmas and with all the holiday things going on, but these are things that you can sort of just tuck into your brain, and maybe you can do a little bit as you're going through your Christmas season and then really put it into high gear in January, which I also mentioned in the intro video to this series, that there's going to be a challenge that we're all going to do together in January. So just keep an eye out for that. I'm not going to tell you about that too much right now, but keep an eye out for that on the Facebook page as well. So in this video, I just want to give you my 5 basic rules of downsizing. So this video is not going to be so much specific concrete steps to take as much as sort of a mindset that you need to keep while you're going through, and some general rules that you can use as you're going along the way. So the first rule of downsizing is to figure out your why, or your motivation. Now, I talk about this a lot in my course, and some people might think, well, I don't really need to do this step. I'm just going to kind of skip over it, get to the good stuff. But there is a reason why you should do this. And that is because when you're in the decluttering process and you're, sitting there on the 5th Saturday in a row in your garage, just piles of stuff all around you, and you're frustrated and you're thinking, why in the world am I doing this? That motivation and that why that you figured out is really going to be what keeps you going and keeps you focused. So if you know my story, you know that I was moving into a 160 square foot tiny house. So obviously my why was pretty clear. I had to get rid of a lot of stuff, 80% of my belongings, just to fit into this tiny house. But for you, it might be you're just tired of having a garage that you can't use and you want to actually have a functioning garage. So you want to clear out all that junk. Or maybe you're getting close to retirement age and your kids are about to graduate from high school and go off to college, and you've decided, you know what? When they leave, I'm going to downsize into a condo and we're going to get rid of this big house, and you need to declutter for that. But whatever your why is it's going to be specific for you. So just figure out what your motivating factor is, what your why is for this whole process. And then, like I said, you can keep that in mind when you're going through the process and when you get frustrated. And then you can keep that end picture in your head and really focus on that to get you through those hard times. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to give yourself permission. Now, again, in my course, I say this as well. This may sound kind of funny to people because you're like, why do I have to give myself permission? But if you think about it, when you're, holding an item and you're determining, well, can I get rid of this or not? Who are you talking to? You're talking to yourself. You're saying, can I get rid of this self? And the only reason why we might hesitate to go ahead and let something go is probably because we feel guilt, or we feel shame, or we feel sadness or grief. We attach emotions to different objects. So in that moment, it's very important for you to sort of detach the emotions from the object and remember that this is just stuff. These are just items. So if you have something that represents somebody that you always hoped to be, somebody that you could have been, maybe you always thought you could be an artist, so you have all these art supplies, but it's just never really happened over the years. Well, you can give yourself permission to let that go and say, you know what? I didn't turn out to be an artist, but that's okay because I did X, Y, and Z instead. And so you go ahead and you give yourself permission to let go of that stuff, which is going to free you up. It's going to free you of that guilt. It's going to stop stressing you out. And then you can spend your time and your energy and your money on things that you do enjoy doing. And really the only person that's stopping you from getting rid of that stuff, like I said, is you. And this could apply to, things that represent who you used to be in the past, or maybe things that you thought you should do. Maybe your family, passed things down to you that they really thought you should do. Maybe your family is all musicians, and so they wanted you to be a musician too, and you have instruments or music or something laying around your house and it just doesn't interest you. Well, again, that's okay. You can just admit that, give yourself permission to let it go. And you can always make sure that these things go to good homes where there are people that actually will enjoy them and will take advantage of them. And we talk about that in my course as well. But just to, make you feel a little bit better about that guilt part of it, you can always make sure that your stuff goes to good homes. You don't have to just drop it off at Goodwill. So give yourself permission. Okay, number 3, you need to stop planning for worst case scenarios. Now, this is where a lot of clutter can come from in people's houses, and this can go in every room of the house. Where I see it a lot for some reason is in the bedroom. I know in my own wardrobe, I had a whole section of clothes that was like suits and, dress pants and blazers, but I hadn't worked in a job that had a business dress code in years. But I just kept moving these clothes from place to place to place because I thought, well, what if I get another office job that has, a business dress code? I'm going to need these clothes. But I already knew I didn't really want to ever work that kind of job again. I knew I wanted to work for myself. I knew I wanted to do my writing. So when I got rid of those clothes, finally, when I downsized, it was more than just getting rid of the physical items. It was also reconfirming for myself this commitment that I was making of what I was going to do with my life and how I was going to live it. So these what ifs can be, for anything. They can be clothes that you keep. Well, what if I gain weight? Or what if I lose weight? Or maybe you keep a bunch of entertaining dishes and glassware and, formal napkins and tablecloths because you think, well, what if I have a party or what if I entertain? I need to have all these things, right? But if you don't actually entertain ever or you don't enjoy it, you can go ahead and get rid of those things. Because if you really think about it, the 2% chance that you might need these things is really not enough to outweigh the 98% chance that you won't use them. So free yourself up the time, free yourself up the space, free yourself up the energy, and get rid of those things. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4. Now this is kind of a general rule that I want you to keep in mind while you're going through the actual decluttering process. So this is where a lot of people get stuck. And when I help them with this, I literally almost see like a light bulb go off over their head. So when you're going through your items, a lot of people tend to look at something and they say, well, is this useful? Now, if you ask that, probably 99% of the time, the answer is going to be yes. It's going to be useful for something. But the question shouldn't be, is this useful? The question should be, is this useful for me? So here's an example. If you have a box full of camping equipment in your garage and you're going through and you're picking up all these cool little tools that you've gathered over the years and you're like, well, this is cool. This helps me build a fire, and this is cool. This is help me find my way if I get lost in the woods. So those things are all useful. And you might in that moment think, oh, I should keep this because what if I get lost in the woods? This is great. But if you never go camping and you don't ever spend time outside like that, then it's not useful for you. So just sort of adding that extra little element on the end of that question makes a huge difference. Because again, same example I just gave for the last rule, if you have all these great little tools for entertaining and, fancy ways to prepare fruits and vegetables and fancy ways to present your food, those are all very useful and they're very helpful little tools to have. But if you never actually do that stuff, it's not useful for you. So again, keep that in mind when you're going through your stuff. Make sure that you're being realistic about you and about your life and about, how useful these things actually are in your current situation. Okay. Number 5, this is what I call the clean slate rule. So basically, the clean slate rule is when you bring one thing in, one thing goes out. So I tend to see this a lot in people's bathrooms, in their kitchens, where, like, for example, if I go on a trip and you were to go in my bathroom, you could tell I was on a trip because there won't be any toothpaste, any deodorant, any shampoo, any conditioner, any hairbrush, everything I need is with me. Now, I do some house sitting sometimes and pet sitting sometimes, and I can be in other people's houses and those people are away on a trip, but I can look around their bathroom and I can see, well, there's still a deodorant there and there's still a toothbrush and there's still, you know, shampoo and shower gel in the bathroom. And it's because we all, and I did this myself as well before I became a minimalist, we all tend to have multiples of things. So we have, you know, 6 shower gels and 5 hand lotions, and maybe in the kitchen we have 5 spatulas and 3 pairs of tongs and 2 colanders. And it can happen for lots of different reasons. It can happen because people give us stuff, or, you know, we end up with hand-me-downs, or maybe we lose something and then we buy a new one and then we find the old one. But however it ends up happening, we need to stop keeping all those multiples and really get down to a clean slate. So what I mean by that is when I run out of shampoo, there's nothing left. There's a clean slate. So I go to the store and I buy 1 shampoo, and then I bring that home, and then when that's gone, I go to the store again, and it's a clean slate. Now, of course, there's going to be some things you need a few multiples of: sheets and towels, you know, shoes, clothes, obviously, but it's about keeping it down to whatever that bare minimum is that you actually need. Towels was another thing that I really sort of had my eyes opened about when I downsized, because I had probably 8 or 10 towels in a stack on one of those little wire shelves in my linen closet, and I would just keep using the same like 3 or 4 from the top and then washing them and putting them back. So when I took the towels that were on the bottom out finally, they actually had the wires from the shelf like ingrained in them because they had just been sitting there for so long. And that was sort of like an eye-opening moment for me, that I realized, you know what, if these towels haven't moved in that long that the wire is ingrained in them, I really don't need this many. So again, I cut down to 3 sets, I believe. And, you know, that gave me 1 that was clean, 1 that was in the laundry, and then 1 if, you know, I had a guest, or, you know, for the dog's bath or whatever. So again, it's about kind of just getting down to that minimum and then keeping that clean slate going. So when you go out, if you buy something new, remember when you come home to get rid of the old. And, you know, I try to do this still to this day with clothes and with shoes. If I bring home a new pair of boots, then an old pair of boots has to go, because I want to always make sure I'm maintaining that minimal level of what I need. And one little thing I just want to add here at the end, this isn't one of the 5 rules, but I just want you to know that minimalism does not at all mean living in deprivation or depression or depriving yourself, anything like that. It's actually the opposite. You're going to feel so much freer. You're going to feel so much more just excited and less stressed, because the only things that you're going to have around you are the things that you actually love and that you actually need. And what you're going to find is that really opens you up with money and with space and with time and with energy to really focus on the things that you actually want and that you actually need. So those are some general rules and just some general guidelines I want you guys to keep in mind. Again, these are things that you can sort of tuck away in your brain right now and kind of get them ready for January after the holidays, when you're really ready to buckle down. All right, so that's it for this week. Keep an eye out next Monday for the next video, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks, guys.